For the 2020 general election, we've gotten 3 different letters from a couple of federal Republican figures, President Donald Trump and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Each of these letters came with something for the recipient to return. In a couple of cases, the thing to return was a survey, which, by the way, doubles as a donation form. Donald Trump and Kevin McCarthy each sent me one survey, and Donald Trump's survey was called the 2020 Critical Issues Survey, and the letter that the survey came with says, "You were chosen to participate in this survey due to your active political involvement and your unwavering commitment to our movement to keep America great. Your answers to the questions in the 2020 Critical Issues Survey are vital to prioritizing the issues Republican candidates from the courthouse to the White House must focus on to win this November. And let's not forget the most important part. And when you do, I ask that you please include your most generous campaign contribution of $35, $50, $100, $250, $500, $1,000, or $2,020. That last number's not a coincidence, is it? Anyway, the rest of the sentence is to support the RNC's efforts to promote the Trump agenda and to continue building the grassroots get out the vote movement operation needed to elect Republican majorities at every level of government in 2020. And indeed, the climax of the survey is probably question 7. That question is, will you play a critical role in helping support President Trump's agenda and electing more Republicans up and down the ballot in the 2020 presidential elections by making a special campaign contribution to the Republican National Committee today? And, the only option is yes? Come on, I gotta say no to this somehow. Ah! There we go, that works. Well, so, anyway, on a more serious note, the most informative question to them would be question 4. It's not really one question as much as a set of 16 sub-questions that let you rate political issues by importance. It says, how important are each of the following issues when deciding how you will vote in the upcoming elections? Some of the questions are general guidelines like keeping taxes low, but others are about pretty specific moves like canceling all federal funding to sanctuary cities that fail to enforce U.S. immigration laws. So there's actually a good variety of issues that Republican voters, for whom this survey is likely intended, may or may not think about, and things about which Republican candidates could advertise if they wanted to. The trouble is that it's not a comprehensive list of what Republican voters care about. For instance, there aren't questions about fending off cancel culture or even balancing the budget, nor is there a blank to write down those issues and imply that there are things that Republicans might want to advertise. So aside from that survey, we also got one called the America First Platform Poll, with a letter from Kevin McCarthy. In his words, your valuable opinions will be used to inform our 2020 Republican Party platform, unify GOP voters nationwide behind a strong campaign message that resonates in all 50 states, and mobilize voters to the polls to re-elect President Trump and send other America First Republicans to federal, state, and local offices across the country. Now, honestly, I think the survey might be too unifying because it seems like stereotypical Republicans would probably say yes to most, if not all, of the questions on the survey. For instance, I should probably go change my shirt. Do you believe President Trump and Republicans will do a better job leading America's economic recovery than Pelosi, Schumer, Biden liberals? Yeah! Do you oppose Democrats' agenda of taxpayer-funded late-term abortions in all 50 states? Yeah! Do you believe it is important for President Trump to have a new House Republican majority along with our Senate Republican majority when he begins his second term? We're not sure! We're not sure! Then, at the climax of the survey, it says, will you return your completed poll document to help the RNC unite our party behind President Trump, advocate for his bold America First policy agenda, and ensure that voters know the president has their backs and will do everything in his power to lead our country to a stronger future? And it says, yes, you can count on my support for the RNC as you work to unite our Republican Party behind President Trump and his America First policy agenda. I am enclosing my donation in the amount listed on page 1 of this poll document. I do not appreciate that bait and switch. Luckily, there is a no option that says, no, I cannot afford to make a contribution at that level today, but I do want my opinions included in this nationwide poll. To cover the costs of printing, mailing, and tabulating my document, I am enclosing $15. We're not sure! We're not sure! As for our third letter, in August, Trump wrote a letter about a group that the recipient could join called the Republican Presidential Task Force. And this is what he said. As a member of my Republican Presidential Task Force, you will be one of the core members of a group of individuals committed to fighting back against Democrats' efforts to defeat me and our party by helping us build a state-of-the-art campaign organization unsurpassed in American politics. Your first call to action as a Presidential Task Force member is to complete and return the enclosed Presidential Task Force Pledge of Support by September 4th. Oops. I need you to go on the record right now and tell sleepy Joe Biden, the fake news media, and big government socialists that you still stand with me. Now, I doubt joining this group would get you too far into the Trump campaign or make the campaign that state-of-the-art, but still, Trump supporters could sign the pledge and join the group for the sake of intrinsic value or for the sake of showing evidence that people do support Trump. Then, as you can imply from the letter comes with a pledge of support that doubles as a donation request form, also known as an emergency election contribution. You know what? I'm just gonna do that. Now, you know what I said about receiving 3 letters? Well, I take it back because just as I was starting to do the editing with this video, I received a 4th letter with the biggest survey of the bunch. The Trump 2020 Keep America Great survey. Of the Republican political surveys in my collection, this one is the biggest, both by size, because it's wider than the other ones in my collection, and by question count, because it has a whopping total of 50 questions, and that's not counting the additional comments section or the set of options for donating money. This survey has a broad scope of questions about social media issues, foreign policy issues, judicial issues, military issues, COVID-19 issues, and more. It also has a question with issues that you can rank by importance, including some issues with which Democrats would want to change things up more than Republicans, like police reform and race relations. Those issues are kind of a surprise to see on a survey that's more dedicated towards Republicans. Oh, yeah, and it has an other blank too, so it seems like Republicans took my advice and I didn't even give them advice. Some other big questions are the multiple choice ones that let you decide a most important foreign policy issue, and one that lets you pick, in their own words, what worries you most about Democrats' strategy for winning the 2020 elections. And speaking of Democrats, you can actually indicate that you're a Democrat with the first question. Although, some of the questions in the survey make it seem odd that the Democrat option is there. For one, this question I mentioned earlier includes actions that Democrat voters may not even think that their party is doing, and therefore wouldn't be concerned about. And unless you're clever with the other box, it forces you to say something negative about the Democrat Party. But the climax of the survey, and I mean, it's so important that it tops the part about giving money to Republicans, is the second question in the 2020 campaign issues section. It reads, do you think I should continue using Twitter to communicate directly with... Okay, I'm ready to submit the survey. My input has saved the day. So yeah, Democrats and moderates obviously probably wouldn't even open the envelopes with these letters, let alone perform the return services that these Republicans want. And come to think of it, Republicans who are apathetic to political mail wouldn't do those things either. And even though I did open the envelopes and look at the documents, now that I'm done discussing them, they've become statistics. Not for the Republican Party, but for me and my ad collection.